End-of-life breathing can be really scary. In this video, I'm going to show you real-life videos of what end-of-life breathing can look like. I'll show you the video, I'll explain what's happening, why it's happening, and what we can do about it. These 3 videos were given to me by a wonderful follower again. Thank you so much. I do have permission to share. This is not my patient. And these videos are the best examples of what end-of-life breathing looks like. Perfect examples. I think it's so important for everyone to understand what someone is going to breathe like during the actively dying phase. The actively dying phase, remember, is that last phase of life. It's the phase that no one really sees. And when they do see it, and it's their loved one, it can be shocking, it can be scary, and you can think they are suffering. That's why I think it's so important to show you what it really looks like, educate you on why it's happening, what you can do about it, and how we know your loved one isn't suffering during this time. So this first video I'm going to show you, it's a great example of how someone will be breathing at the end of life and how their breath will sound at the end of life. You'll also notice the family coming in with the blue sponge to moisten their loved one's lips and their mouth. That's a perfect thing you can do during this time. I'll show you the video, I'll give you a trigger warning first, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So trigger warning, here is the video. Okay, so perfect. You can see that she's breathing a little differently. It almost looks like it's hard for her to breathe, or she's, trying to really hard to get a breath. And you can hear a little gurgle noise to that breath. All of that is completely normal and to be expected. So this is why it's happening. The changes in breathing are happening because as the body's shutting down, the body knows it's shutting down, and things are changing chemically and metabolically in their blood system and in their body. That is creating the person to breathe different. So it's basically like an automatic thing that's happening in the body. It's automatically happening. The body is doing it. She's not sitting there going, I can't breathe, I'm going to start breathing differently. She is unconscious. And the body is automatically doing these things to help itself shut down. You're hearing the gurgling noise, which is called terminal secretions. The nickname is called the death rattle because when you hear it, that usually means death is near. That is happening because our body creates moisture in our mouth through saliva all day, every day. And usually our brain automatically knows to swallow that saliva. Now at the end of life, our brain is not totally cooperating and it's not doing those things. So the saliva that the body is creating to keep the mouth moist is gathering in the back of the throat. So with every breath and the mouth is open, it's creating this wet gurgling noise. It's very, very normal. And really all it is just a little tiny bit of secretions. Now, how do we know she's comfortable? That's the question I always get. If she can't tell you she's comfortable, how do you know? We know because one, we've been doing this for a long time, and it's very obvious when someone is not comfortable because they will not be laying there like she's laying there. They will be moaning. They will have a furrowed brow. They will be rolling around. They'll be making noise. They'll be showing us that they are not comfortable. A dying person is like a baby. Babies cannot verbally say what they need, but they can cry a certain way. Once a parent knows their baby, they know their cries. This is a hungry cry. This is a wet cry. This is a teething cry, right? And that is how it is for a dying person. If a dying person is laying there comfortably and looking relaxed, they are. Because if they weren't, they would be showing us. It's very, very clear. And to a trained eye, it's even more clear. But if you're not a trained eye, that's what you can look for. You can look for a furrowed brow. If they're moaning, if they're agitated, if they're tight, that might be a sign that they are struggling. So real quick, what can we do about the death rattle, about that gurgling noise if you don't like it or you think it's bothering them? The number one thing I suggest to do is just turn your loved one on their side it'll eventually just slide right out of their mouth. So there's medication we can give to kind of dry up those secretions. That's not my favorite thing to do because it gives them dry mouth, but that is something you can do. Now in the hospital, of course, they have a suction machine and a suction, and they suction out everyone's saliva. We can do that. Hospice could provide you with a portable suction machine and you could do that. I never suggest that because the more you do that, the more saliva is going to be produced, and it kind of like perpetuates the problem. So I always just try to educate about how it's really normal. It's not bothering your loved one. If it's really bothering you, or you think maybe it is bothering your loved one, you can just turn them on their side and it will come out. This next video is of the same woman. Again, a great example of how the breathing's going to start to change. You're going to notice her breathing's even different from the first video. There's some delay to the breath. There's like a long pause in between. This is the point where families are kind of watching every breath. Like, are they going to take the next breath? Yeah, it can be scary because you don't know if they're going to take their next breath, right? So this is why I like to show it so you know what it can look like. So trigger warning, here's the video.
Well, where's it going?
There you have it. That is a perfectly normal end of life breathing. That is what it can look like. It's totally expected, and there's nothing you have to do. So people will be like, what do I have to do? Nothing. As long as they look comfortable, you just be. You just be with them. However you want to be with them, you be with them, and you allow their body to do what it's doing. Now, this next video I think is the most important one. It's showing you what agonal breathing looks like. Agonal breathing is the last type of breath we usually see. We don't always see it in everybody, but it's definitely something we see a lot of the time. And it's one of the breaths that really make people think, my loved one's struggling to breathe, because it looks a little bit like a fish out of water. And really what it is, it's not a true breath. It is a reflex. The person may be, in these moments, probably minutes away from death, maybe seconds away from death. So normal. But if you don't know what it looks like, it can feel really scary. So trigger warning, here's the video. So there you have it, a perfect example of agonal breathing. This woman was not suffering. She was very comfortable and her body knew what to do. Agonal breathing is just a reflex, and all we have to do is be there with our loved one. They are not suffering. They're just going through the natural process, and everything you're seeing in these videos is normal and to be expected.